Now that I have this space cleared and opened up, I've done a little bit of preliminary work of measuring and laying out and seeing what kind of size is going to fit. This is where I plan to put an equipment shed. Basically 3 walls and a roof. Just gets things in and out of the sun and out of the elements of the weather and everything like that. And this downhill shoulder has got a pretty substantial drop because the boulder wall stops, and I crowned the material off just to give it a finish. I know I've got to go up quite a ways on the back corner, and this front corner needs to come up a little bit because I don't know if you can tell very well on camera, but it drops off pretty substantially here with just crowning. And that was by design to keep the water shed to just disperse across the front of this and over this wall. But now what I'm going to have to do is bring this elevation up, because the last thing I want to do is have a storage building in here that gets filled in with water anytime it rains hard or has any melt from the snow. So what I'm going to do now is start putting out some grade stakes, and these are going to be plus the footprint by about 2 feet in each direction, just to make sure I've got plenty of extra room built out. And before I get augering holes and doing footings and anything like that, I'm going to peel this road base and pit run layer that I've got on here, peel that back, expose the native soil that I backfilled with this, and then I'm going to use more native fill to bring it back up to an appropriate subgrade back on top of that to get it up to a initial grade at least, that I can do the footings and the layout work and get everything set. And then if I need to put a little bit more gravel or something in on top to give it a nice finished surface, I can do that at any time. I guess we'll get started with that. Okay, I got that marked out, what felt like about the right elevation for everything, but I'm right at the top of the stake there. You can see how much it falls off up to my mark there, and just above that stake in the corner out here, it's like 2 inches too short to mark. Luckily I have a whole stack of boulders over there and a whole bunch of random rocks in here that I can steal to line up along the top of this boulder wall to give me the elevation I need here, and I'll backfill all this in. I don't want the boulders and the backfill to be directly at this height. I want the building to be at that height, and then a slight crown coming here. The roof is going to face this way, so the runoff will be a foot or two out and should pretty well come right onto the rock and not onto the fill, which is better. It won't erode at that. I know I have probably 3 to 6 inches of pit run and or road base on top of this section here, as well as a bunch of this 3-inch steel meal slag. So I'm going to try to do my best to pull some of that back off the top and get it back to what looks like the native clay rock fill. Then I'm going to start hogging into this side here for the fill to bring that up. This should be fairly clean. You can see there's some rocky veins here, but this connex is going to get turned around and put against the hillside right up there, the cut that's eroded away for some of this finished plan we have out here. So I figured I might as well take it from that spot as well as any other place, because I can't move the connex till I dig that out anyway, so kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Well, I haven't shot it for grade yet, and I lost my grade stakes because they were barely kind of hanging on anyway. Feels like about 4 inches low right through here, but we're coming in really nicely to level. It's hard work rounding up them boulders. What looks like a boulder field is just these stupid rocks that are a pain in the butt because they're just not enough to get in there to stack well. A handful more in there, 20 or 30, and we'll have that single, maybe double course through the rest of that over to the cart and stuff over there so that we can get that up to prime and be where we need. I'm gonna call that a night for tonight. I'm gonna go grab the sprinkler and put on this and just wet the holy heck out of it. I could have done this a couple of ways. I could have gone with the existing grade and dug to my depth for my footings and just poured them right where they, as it was, and poured those footings and then got them stood up and everything, and then buried up to those. They would have effectively worked like a grade stake. And I could have buried up to, 2 inches of down or 3 inches down or whatever my target was. But I opted for doing this because I didn't want to run the risk of disturbing one of those footings with the backfill and compaction. And nothing worse than having one that's sitting on grade and you're backfilling around it and you disturb it or knock it a little bit loose at all, because then you never know if it's going to settle again or if it's moved or if it's where it even needs to be anymore or just what. So may as well get it all leveled up and compacted in. Then I can do my layout on a nice flat surface and make sure that my layout's good. And then I can dig my footings and we'll pour those and be in good shape. So that's kind of I think that's the plan we're going to go for. So I'm back here at the frontage and I'm going to try to wrap this up this morning. I've pretty well got this to here. I need to continue the boulders from about right here out to the little trailer cart right there. That doesn't have to come up terribly high. So if I just carry this line with these smaller rocks, it should work fine. And then we can build that up to the finished grade. So we still got like inches and inches to go in a lot of it. So I can get those done first and get some more material out of the hillside up there, put down here and pack it in. We'll wet it down real good. Try to get it all pretty flat at any rate. That's the goal. Well, as you can tell, I'm really having to go hunting for some dang boulders. I'm ended up way up in there in the trees trying to find some of any size. I'm going over here by the Connex, way out here in all of this. And what's crazy is you look at that and you think, oh, look at all them rocks and all them boulders. Those suckers just don't stack. They're like 1.5 feet, maybe 1 foot. They're rocks. But I'm running out. I don't want to have to be chasing around trying to find them. So I can stab them rocks in there and just kind of stack them in there and push the dirt to them and it's going to be okay. I've got enough distance from there to come forward and not have to worry about it. And there's not too much to retain. So we're in pretty okay shape that way. The finished grade inside here is probably going to come up another 6 inches above this. We've got to get that just flattened out and readied. Then I can dig down. I'll make sure I dig down to the better native ground elevation, and then we'll put in our footings. We've got 12-foot centers on all the footings. We've got plenty of support, and there's just not that much weight other than the snow load, and most of that's going to come shooting off of there with that steel roof. For now, I'm going to get digging into the hill, get more dirt out here and get it built up, see what I can do to kind of get this refined and flattened a little bit. By the time I get the spot footings poured, I'm probably going to be standing proud of any of this by 4 to 6 inches, and then I'll bring in some real good road base and lay in and bring it right up to about the top of the footing so that we've got a good level surface and a real nice road base surface for inside this structure and everything like that. So I'll build that up to finished grade once that's all set. So okay, this morning I'm headed down to start laying out for the concrete footings down on that equipment shed, getting things ready to get those footings augered in and or dug in, depending on what that's going to look like, and get ready for concrete. Most of the ground prep is done. I've got 3 sites I need to get footings in, 4 technically. Get those in so that we can get ready to start building. The first one that's ready and the first one that's going to get attention is the equipment shed. Got my cool little e-bike, all my survey layout stuff. I got my survey spikes and my laser, my string, my measuring tapes and paint and all that kind of stuff, and just throw it in a bucket, put a little bungee on it to keep it on the back. So we're gonna pedal down and go get that started. Now we've got some stuff built up and kind of know our limits. We'll lay out a good line here for all these directions and see if we're close enough to build. It's crazy to remember just how far down that dropped, because this boulder and that big boulder are new. So there's 2 layers of boulders here. All that's new. It's crazy how much it sloped off. So here's the deal. When I first looked at how this space was going to lay out, I really didn't want to encroach on the existing roadway that we have going in, and I wanted to try to keep it tucked back. So initially I had this right here where I was setting out these other stakes. I had a jog in the building where it stepped back, and I wanted this first bay to be wide enough that I could get 2 bales of hay in here in case I needed overrun storage for hay. Then the other bays were just going to be like 12-foot spacing basically. after getting it leveled up and getting that back corner established to where it can sit, I managed to get it to where I've got 70 feet here of good workable buildable space. When I laid it out for the 18-foot front here instead of the 24 front full depth, that 6-foot back only makes a difference of about 2.5 to 3 feet encroachment on the road edge. But that 2.5 feet encroachment means I can have a very simple building structure instead of having to have extra footings back here to get a different rafter span for the different depth, and then having to step the roof line, come back and try to match elevations here so that the roof line is all even and steps back and jogs, and this one's lower than that one. For that little bit of 2.5 feet, just square the building up and make it even and easy. So what I've got laid out is 70 foot by 12 foot, which means I'm going to have posts in the middle of this building. But the idea of this building is to be stalls and not necessarily a free clear building. That's not the point. I'll do that math in a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and do that so I can figure out where my markings will be. I've got the rectangle pattern laid out just for reference for me. And then I'm going to set stakes long so that after I drill these holes and get these spot footings ready to go, as soon as he gets the concrete in the holes, I can throw my strings back up on stakes that are beyond and get my string lines for my building edge. That way when I set my post bases into the wet cement, I've got that good string reference to bring them right up next to the string, and that gets my stakes out of the way for making the holes and pouring the concrete. Okay, that's got my layout all set. The whole point of this was plus or minus 6 inches, which is a total difference of like a foot. And I really don't care at this stage beyond that. Because this is going to be spot footings, everything's going to go into a certain elevation for those footings so that they're on grade. And then I'm going to fill the heck out of this with road base. I want this nice, clean, hard packing road base with good gravel and sand that'll set nice and hard. And I'll bring this all up to whatever that elevation is to the top of the footings. If that's 2 dump truck loads or 4 dump truck loads, I don't really care, because I want a good solid built up base so that all of my drainage from this road surface coming this way is going to divide that way or go this way and not enter the front of the building. And I don't fill this building up with water in the spring runoff. Okay, those are all marked just for my reference when I'm doing it. Need to go grab the auger for the excavator and see if we can get these to auger. I'm hoping we can. I know there's some pretty good sized rocks in some of this fill, so hopefully that doesn't mess with us too much. Got all my tools loaded back up. I'm going to take them back up to the shop. I'll grab the tractor and pick up the auger and just bring it down here with the tractor. Then we can hook it onto the excavator and see if it'll work. Can't forget my gloves. This bike is pretty awesome. I haven't had to start the buggy for 3 days. No diesel fuel used in 3 days. And I can buzz up and down like this. This is not hard work at all. And I'm carrying 10 miles an hour up my 10 or 11% grade without even trying. Makes a quick up and down. Well, that's not good. I have to see if I can get that off. Might just have a bunch of junk in it. So, I think we'll take that one apart. Before we put it on, we'll take it all apart with some cleaner. I've got a 9-inch auger on here. And the reason I've only got a 9-inch instead of a 12-inch is I'm fairly convinced that auger's gonna walk around in the hole because of pretty good sized rocks down in there. So the hole's gonna end up being 12 or 14 inches with that 9-inch auger walking around. There's no question I'm abusing it. I was kind of moving it around a little to try to walk to the side of the rocks or anything like that, but you can see like there's a big rock sticking in from the side and you can't really see it, but on the other side there's another big rock sticking in, so it's trying to dance between them. I'm gonna have to reevaluate this. That weld isn't a very deep weld, I can see, and I'll fix it up and re-weld it on there. It'll be fine. I'm not sure we're gonna get there doing it this way. Unfortunately, I was really hoping I could. It'd save me a lot of effort. I guess we're done for now, and we'll reevaluate. Give it some thought, let it marinate, come up with a new plan. Might have to go more traditional method and dig a hole with the depth. Maybe use my 18-inch bucket, skinny as I can get it, and try to keep the hole tight and small. Might just have to do it in 2 pours and pour the base footing first and then stand the sonotube on top of that and pour that. Well, they're dug. Got a little bit of loose spoils in the bottom that I need to shovel out. Not too bad. I'll just get down in there and shovel them out. Do need to reset a couple of stakes that were just a little too close. So once I reset those stakes, so I've a good reference, then I can make sure those holes are pulled out and cleaned out in the bottom. And we'll schedule some concrete. I'll mark them on the side wall of the hole with the paint so that I know I've got a deep enough depth for the base footing. We've done it before where we've poured the base footing and then set the sonotube on the wet concrete and filled it too. And it can work. as long as you got a good heavy slump on the concrete so it doesn't want to try to move. But I think what we'll do is shoot all the bases first, see how it's setting up. If we have to, we'll leave that and go hit a few others and try to get them poured as well. We just get moving on concrete.